You're listening to the Super League Pod, coming up on episode 158 of your favourite Rugby League podcast. Tom and Mark are here with all your feedback, shout-outs, news from around the world of Rugby League. We look back over last weekend's fixtures as well as previewing this weekend's upcoming action in the Super 8 and the qualifiers. We've got loads of other stuff coming up as well, including chat about the Academy structures and also a bit of a quiz. Strap yourselves in, kids. It's time for your favourite Rugby League podcast, the Super League Pod. Okay, hi everyone, welcome to episode 158 of the Super League Pod. Mark, it's a Sunday night recording and we're both here for it. I feel like that's a
first of the year.
A victory for us both in terms of organisation and avoiding being pissed up on a Sunday night. I got my drinking done early this week, which meant I was able to rock up on time and keep a commitment.
You look like you've not had a busy day. You look like a man who's been snoozing all day.
I have. Well, it's been a necessary snooze, but it was a good weekend, a good evening. How are you? How's your week been?
Yeah, good. Well, obviously, nice bounce back for me this week with the win and the under-19s final this afternoon. Fat Boy Rob was down with his mate Dino, and
fantastic.
And so he met my uncle and he met Cass, so he met some of the names that you hear regularly on the Super League Pod.
Right.
So that was great this afternoon. Pretty much other than that, sort of getting things ready for going away to Copenhagen for a couple of days, and then jury service coming up. So I was rounding things off at work.
Didn't know you had jury service coming up. Let's cover off a couple of things then, because that's why we're recording early, isn't it? The Copenhagen trip. Excited?
Yeah, it's going to be good.
I suppose you'll have more to tell us when you come back, won't you?
Yeah, I've got a few things, but I'm not only there really for 2 full days, really, either side of flying. So one day should be a tourist day and one day should be a beer drinking day, I think.
Superb.
So it should be good.
And excited about jury duty? I'd love to do jury duty.
I'm quite excited about not being at work for 3 weeks at least, which is going to be novel, yeah.
Good Lord, very good.
So, anything else going on this week for you?
This week coming up is a quiet week at work for me. So nothing as exciting as.
So you'll have plenty of time to make sure everyone.
I'll be able to keep across the
shares the show out.
I'll be able to keep across the social media platforms on my lunch breaks and things. Yeah, absolutely. Whilst you're off enjoying Scandinavia, what's coming up on the show this week, Mark?
Well, not loads of news, but bit to get into about the sort of imminent structure. Staying the same, and academies and stuff to talk about, with the grand finals to talk about. That's an interesting week for that topic to come up. All the games, including probably numerous refs fault kind of arguments to get through. And then the quiz at the end is going to be related to the Lancashire-Yorkshire Origin game that was played in the week as well. Well attended.
Very well attended.
Heavenly, 5,000 or so were there for that one. So we will go through all those things, but we're going to start with feedback and shout-outs, as we normally do. And it's Mitchell Darts. We start with a little bit of feedback on the England side selections. So Dart says, I can't believe nobody picked Hannington in their side.
I know, big miss that, I wouldn't say. I can't believe we let him slide.
David Powell at St David 2911. As everyone will remember, David had one of the more controversial selections, going the homer choice of Johnny Lomax, not even first choice fullback at St Helens anymore, in the one jersey. And he said, now then lads, my logic on having J-Lo is having a ball player rather than a runner at fullback.
There you go.
Well, why didn't you pick the best ball playing fullback in the league then? At Tom Eckley 99, he says, hi guys, sorry not being around, great episode as ever. Regarding the England squad, do you think Ratchford could be a shout for centre? Being a shining light in the shit that was our season, and think he deserves an international tournament, possibly more than Watkins.
I think Ratchford will be in the squad because of the utility value that he has. I don't think he's going to be with a shout at playing at centre. I just don't think Wayne Bennett will play there unless there's injuries and what have you. But
I think he has been quite good for Warrington, but I don't think he's been. I don't really know if he's played well in any of the handful of games he'll have played in the centres this year.
Yeah,
I don't see those as his standout games, so that's kind of where that didn't come into my thinking. But I agree with you, probably a man for the 24.
Yeah, definitely so.
Mike Dodd at Mike Dodd 22 said, great episode as usual and interesting to hear those England 17s. I was surprised not to hear Matty Blythe's name mentioned.
Yeah, he's fallen victim to the curse of Chris Harrington, hasn't he, Matty Blythe? That's another travesty of the selectors. Does he even get in the Warrington team?
I don't even know if he's not just evaporated.
Yeah, possibly so. Maybe he just sweeps up hair at it's barbershop. Maybe that's what he does now. Not Jamie Foster's. Who's the other one? Who's the one that Ryan Atkins? He's training to be a barber.
Oh, is he?
Maybe he just sweeps up Ryan Atkins's trimmings.
Fair enough,
so to speak.
Brendan Loftus at BP Loftus. He says, now then, lads, interesting about the future. Andrew Johns recently stated that League and Union will both reduce by 2 players soon.
Well, it puts you in high company, doesn't it?
There you go. I didn't know that he'd
suggest that.
I didn't know that he'd said that, but I did. I have seen it elsewhere and heard it elsewhere. And with players becoming fitter, I think it's one of those things that might get looked at because the game probably is closing in a bit and becoming a little bit less exciting because of everyone being so fit.
Yeah.
But having said that, if you just make people not fuck around at the ruck, then the game will be dead quick. There'll be less players in the defensive positions anyway, and that should open things out in theory. So there's another way to address it than getting rid of players, I suppose. But I do think it's a way the sports will go. I think Union probably want to do it, but can't. until like something switches off in ours.
There you go. Fair play. Who's next?
Back to back, which is the what at Langers 38 is going at the moment. He says.
Well, he's factually correct.
Yeah. Another great one from the lads. Definitely in the top 2 of all time.
There we go. See, he's enjoying his rugby league at the minute. I think he's Langers.
I think Izzy thinks the other top one must be when we recap the Wembley final last year.
Possibly so. Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
David Cantrell at Dr. Hideous said Tony Clubb deserves an award in the Sloppies for his comeback having bits removed.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal return, isn't it? Tony Clubb having had a kidney taken out to be back on the pitch and playing so speedily. And still putting his body on the line, absolutely. Yeah. What would it be then? Comeback of the year or I don't know.
That sort of
Something
thing
in there, isn't it? Yeah.
There's a potential. We'd need other nominees, I think, for the same award who are of equal kind of level of.
It runs the risk of becoming the Dr. Bob Phillips Award for being Dr. Bob Phillips, doesn't it? It's something,
Yeah, which is kind of why we've canned off the Gelling Award because he's just too funny compared to everyone else in Super League.
That's it. But no, Tony Clubb certainly will deserve a special mention if nothing else.
Yeah, definitely. Mark Butler at Mark Butler 1978. He says, anyone else care to admit about getting Bybee in the quiz, but not Gleeson like me? I just don't associate Gleeson with Wigan somehow.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I suppose kind of with Gleeson, it's mostly focused on Saints and then Betting and then Warrington.
In that order.
Well, maybe even ahead of Warrington is like
betting.
Drugs.
Yeah. Saints, Betting, Drugs, Warrington.
Yeah. But yeah, it happened. No one else did own up to that mark though, so you're on your own there. But Lee Whitnell got in touch.
Yeah.
He said, back from holidays and 2 episodes of SLP smashed back to back.
Okay.
Mark's disappointment in this one brought back painful memories from last year.
Your disappointment and your kind of the resigned nature of the podcast last week was palpable, mate. But it's all.
Well, I've got some silverware to celebrate this week, haven't I?
Onwards and upwards, they are then, exactly. So who else has been getting in touch?
Well, Sarah McKenzie, we touched a bit on Wembley crowds last week, and Sarah's got a bit of a theory and suggestion. She says, I think the timing of Wembley really doesn't help the crowds. In the olden days, when the final was played in May, my parents would take down a class full from the school Mum worked at. During the school holidays, this is something that wouldn't be possible. I know that costs now will probably also preclude this from happening, but I do think that groups find it harder to manage to get a good number for a trip down, with it being at the end of the holiday period. My preference would be to see the final at the end of the 23 rounds. I think this would also add some emphasis to the fact that the 8 is something different.
Yeah, it's a slight move forward, isn't it? It's sort of a 3 or 4 week.
Yeah, so it'd be
so last
August, weekend in July or first weekend in August, sort of scenario. I'm not fully opposed to that.
No.
You had it the sort of first weekend of the school holidays rather than the back end of the school holidays that way. I think it's a good suggestion. The RFL have been sending out the surveys this week or last week maybe even, for the Challenge Cup final, people who went, and one of the themes of the questioning was where should it be held and when should it be held, certainly. I gave my answers then pretty strongly in the extra feedback bit, emphasised the point of taking it away from Wembley would be a move that would totally strip the value from the cup more than the fact that people don't turn up to it already is doing.
Definitely.
You're not going to fill a stadium. Filling a stadium of 40,000, 50,000 even doesn't matter to me.
No.
Than when you're getting 68,000 at Wembley. What's the point in my head? So I don't get anyone who wants to move it away from Wembley at this stage, unless for the RFL, Wembley's cost prohibitive for some reason or other. But I think it'd be a great shame. We don't have our own national stadium, so why would, in Rugby League, like say Rugby Union do, for example, so why would we want to move it away from
the national stadium?
Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. No,
but moving the final to earlier in August or the very last weekend of July, to me, isn't a stupid idea.
Not at all. And in fact, it kind of would suit the flow of the season quite nicely, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, if you think about it, you'd have like the semi-finals a bit earlier as well, so that week would push it out, so it probably might well be the first weekend of August then. So you still have the school holidays aspect to it a little bit, but one thing you'd get is slightly compressed Challenge Cup schedule, so a little bit more momentum in the rounds, particularly the rounds that the Super League clubs are involved in, you would think. So it'd be hotter on the agenda, and so, but they've not even got tickets on sale for next year's yet, and they've said it's to do with changes of ticket suppliers, but it's to...
I think it's to do isn't it?
When they've got a survey asking about venues for next year, timings for next year, it's not fucking ticket suppliers, is it?
No, it certainly isn't.
But great stuff there, Sarah.
Yeah,
everyone else, thanks for getting in touch.
Yeah, lovely to hear from
you.
Right.
We're still on the feedback and shout out.
Yes.
Whilst people are still listening, because not everyone goes to the end, I'm sure.
I like to think they all do.
We have new competition now, Tom, in the podcast realm. As one of the newspapers, websites, newspapers, has released a new podcast that's going to come out every Friday.
Right.
It doesn't eat into too much of where our schedule sits.
No.
And I encourage people to enjoy all the other Rugby League podcasts and output out there. Yeah. But we need a push from our listeners to make sure we don't lose relevance with more competition coming onto the scene, Thomas.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to be shared alike.
As you sat there listening to this now, as you're prepared for 15 seconds or so of Rich Wilkinson musical magic, get on your podcast player that you're on right now, iTunes, Spreaker, other ones.
All those, yeah.
And hit share, because they all have a share button, don't they? Hit share and share it out, and let everyone else know about it. Yes. And then the final thing to mention, our friend Stuart over at League Culture has released his last podcast, unfortunately, this month. Right. So everyone get around that at League Culture, and it's on the League Cast app, which Stuart also is behind. And give him a big happy send-off for his last show, and you never know, maybe it'll encourage him to come back into the fold and possibly do... maybe do the shows on less than not quite a monthly basis, or special editions or something like that, but certainly not leave the Rugby League podcast fall, because I think that'll be a shame.
Yeah, of course it would. Absolutely, and best of luck to him in the future as well.
Definitely.
Okay, that's the feedback and shout-outs and advertising push taken care of. Let's take a look now at news from around the world of Rugby League. Okay, so to this week's news, and we'll start at Red Hall, where the Rugby Football League have confirmed that all 12 Super League clubs have unanimously voted in favour of keeping the current structure of the league in place for 2018. All 12 clubs met earlier this month to discuss the situation, and this is what they had to say. The clubs were unanimous in their view that the 2017 Super League season has provided great entertainment and excitement, and whilst the plan is still to review the merits of the current structure from 2019 onwards, it was in the best interests of the competition that there were no major changes for the start of the 2018 season. So,
I think this is
rumbled on
sensible.
as a rumour. I think it's sensible too.
I think the one thing they need to be doing, though, is not just sitting back and thinking, right, we've ironed that little crease out.
Yeah.
Now is the time where they actually need to be focusing on it, because you want teams to be